Greetings and salutations, folks, and welcome once again, as always, to another helping of Mr H's Hot Pot. You join me today from Mossbank Park, which is just outside the town of Bolton, or Boughton, as they say in this neck of the woods, which is in Greater Manchester, in the northwest of England. Now, originally, Bolton, along with its neighbouring town of Wigan, formed part of Lancashire. And there was part of Lancashire right up until 1974, when the government of the day decided they was going to restructure all the local boundaries and create Greater Manchester. So after 1974, Bolton, along with Wigan, found themselves part of Greater Manchester, and they could no longer class themselves as Lancastrians and had to start thinking of themselves as Mancunians instead. Now, why am I telling you this seemingly snippet of useless information, I hear you cry? Well, it has a slight bearing on today's subject matter, which is that chimney there that you can see in the background. That chimney originally formed part of the old Halliwell Bleach Works, which used to dominate the landscape and the surrounding area that I'm currently studying. And no doubt it employed many people who lived locally in this area. And at the time, that chimney was the tallest chimney in Lancashire, and it rose 306 feet into the air. It was part of the power plant that would have powered the old Halliwell Bleach Works. I'm going to put a photograph in for you in a moment, and you'll be able to see just how large the bleach works used to be and just how much land it covered. I'll put that photograph in for you now. And from that, as you can see, it dominated the landscape around here. Now, that is the only bit of the old Halliwell Bleach Works that's left. The factory is long gone, no doubt it's been built upon, and the chimney is all that remains. Now, the chimney was built in 1863 by the then owner, Richard Henry Ainsworth, and he wanted a lot of power to power his bleach works as they were stepping up in the Industrial Revolution production and output. So it got built, and as I say, it was built to 306 feet high. But over the years, it has been reduced in size to its current height. It was reduced in 1924 to 288 feet, then again in 1945 to 252 feet, and finally in 1996 to its current height, which is 246 feet. And it was reduced, believe it or not, by the local steeplejack from around this area that everybody knows. He's a local celebrity. I am, of course, talking about the late, great Fred Dibnah. Now, he worked on that chimney in 1996, along with another steeplejack named Simon Warner, and they undertook an 8-month restoration project to sort of stabilise the top part of the chimney as it was beginning to crumble. That's the reason why they keep reducing the chimney, because it's stuck up there, it's open to the elements, and of course it gets battered with rain and winds and things like that, and that's why it was slowly reduced throughout its lifespan. Now, we'll be taking a closer look at the chimney in a moment, because we can get right up close and personal to it, and we'll be able to see some of the remnants of Fred Dibnah and Simon Warner's marks on the chimney and things like that. But before we get there, it's not the first time that Fred Dibnah's been involved with that chimney, because local folklore states that when he was 15 years of age, he climbed that chimney for a 10-shilling bet. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave you with Fred, who'll tell you the story better than I can, because he told the story in the 1979 documentary Steeplejack, which I'm going to put a clip in for you now. So I'm going to leave you with Fred while I make my way over to that chimney, and we'll take a closer look at it when I get there. But I'll leave you with Fred, and he can tell you the story of the time he climbed it to win a 10-shilling bet.
That's the biggest chimney that there is in Bolton, and when I was 15 years old, I climbed up that for a 10-shilling wager. The steeplejacks were repairing it, you see, at the time. And one dark winter night, you know, I did do it. I never got the 10 bob, you know, but I got the 2 Union Jacks tied round the lightning conductors, you know, at the top. And they blamed it on the Manchester University students, you see. Well, it weren't them, it were really me.
Okay, folks, well, before we get up close and personal with that chimney, I just wanted to do a bit of a then and now shot from 1979, when the original documentary was filmed with Fred Dibnah, called Steeplejack, and what the same scene looks like now in 2020. Now, I believe that I'm in the area where the camera crew would have set up their equipment. And back in 1979, you would have had Fred's Lanny parked over there on the corner of that wall, blocking that road sign and that bit of paintwork. The wall would have been in much better repair. There was no holes in it. And if you look real close to the left-hand side of your screen, you'll notice a patch of paintwork that's very faded now on the wall. Well, back in 1979, that paintwork was brand new, and it's amazing to think that so many years afterwards, it's still here. Now, what they also did, to give you a shot of all the way up the chimney, they did this. All the way to the top. Now, obviously, the trees have grown since, and I don't think that lamppost was there back in 1979. But that's exactly the same shots that they took back in 1979 when they did that documentary called Steeplejack. Really amazing. Anyway, we'll now get up close and personal with the chimney, and we'll take a walk around that base. Okay folks, well you now join me right at the base of the old Halliwell Bleachworks chimney, or Barrow Bridge Chimney as it's known as today. Now it's octagonal in shape and it's a grade 2 listed structure today. It was granted that status in 1974 I believe, and I believe that Fred Dibnah was very instrumental in getting its status, or so it's believed. Now fast forward to 1996 when he was working on this with Simon Warner. He was commissioned over an 8-month project to restore the top part of the chimney. Unfortunately, when they got up there, they realised that the last 50 feet at the top part was in too much disrepair, and it was decided that it would need to be lowered to its current height, which is 246 feet. And they did some repointing work on it, and they also replaced the lightning conductors. The very same lightning conductors, I've no doubt, that Fred tied those Union Jacks from all those years ago for that 10 shilling bet. Anyway, what we're now going to do is we're going to now take a little walk around the lower part of the base, because we should be able to see where Fred chiselled out to put the bungs for so he could tie his ladders and ladder it all the way to the top. And there's also a very surprising little Easter egg that Fred and Simon Warner left behind back in 1996, which we'll take a closer look at now. Okay folks, well I'm now going to take a walk around the base of Barrow Bridge Chimney, and we'll see if we can find any remnants from the days back in 1996 when Simon Warner and Fred Dibnah were working on this chimney. Now I'm going to have to make my way around the right hand side of the chimney, I think, because over at the left you can see it's a little bit overgrown. Judging from the fences and little pathways there is in this area, as you can just see down there, I think originally the idea was to turn this into a little bit of a park. You know, as people could come and sit in it and things like that, but it's just not happened. It's just been left really abandoned. Now that pile of rubble that you can see there is nothing to do with the chimney. It's part of the stone wall that would have surrounded the chimney and was removed presumably when they was trying to make this into a park, and they've just left it here. The wall would have been seen all the way through back in the 1979 documentary Steeplejack with Fred. Now, as I make my way over, I'm going to be very careful here because there's a bit of a trench that's been dug out here from the chimney up to the road. Now, I've no idea what that's for. I don't think Fred Dibnah and Simon Warner dug that back in 1996. What I think that's actually been is an exploration pit to see what the foundations are like on the chimney. Because back in 2011, there was a planning application submitted to Bolton Council, believe it or not, to stick a house 60 foot in the air and attach it to this chimney. It would have been glass fronted and 360 degrees all the way up there, and it would have been someone's home. Now, thankfully, nothing came of that. Or, unfortunately, nothing came of that, depending on your viewpoint. I'm sure dear old Fred would have turned in his grave and been horrified with the idea of sticking some glass-fronted building halfway up a chimney, but there you go. Now I'm slowly making my way around to the face of the chimney where Fred and Simon would have placed the ladders all the way up to the top. Those famous red ladders that have been seen in many of Fred's documentaries. And they would have been placed on this particular face of the chimney here. Now what I'm looking for is one of the holes that Fred would have chiselled into the brickwork so that he could knock a wooden plug in and then knock a piece of iron in, known as a dog, and tie his ladders to it and go all the way to the top. And I've actually found one, Hot Potters. There we go. That's one of Fred's original wooden plugs. Now, normally he would take them out afterwards and he would cement them up. Why that's not been cemented up, who knows? Maybe it got missed, or they just didn't have time, or whatever the reason be. But that's where Fred would have knocked his metal hook back in 1996. And there's a little Easter egg on this side of the chimney as well, which I'm going to show you. And it's that cement plaque there. As you can see, Fred and Simon back in 1996, they put the names in and tried to sort of recreate what they would have done back in the Victorian era. So as you can see, it says F Dibnah and S Warner 1996. And it's good to see that that's still here all these years on, as is the lightning conductor that they replaced. You see, it goes all the way to the top and all the way down into the ground. Now I'm going to make my way down off this pile of stone here, carefully. And it would appear that when they was restoring this, Fred and Simon back in 1996, that Simon Warner actually caused a little bit of drama as he decided, bored during the Christmas period of 1996, to come down here and not tell anybody and paint the metal bands which are right at the top of the chimney, and unfortunately I can't get them into shot. And rather than watch TV and be bored, he decided to come down here, and he was very much in Fred Dibnah's style. It's something you could have imagined Fred Dibnah doing back in the day, to be honest. But he came down here and went up to the top, and unfortunately a passerby who saw him thought he was going to jump off the chimney, so immediately phoned the fire brigade, and it caused quite a bit of drama, and it made it into the Bolton Evening News at the time. And you can actually find that story online if you go and look for it. Now, I've just noticed here as I've been making my way around, there was probably going to be another plaque in that little bit of cutting there. It looks like the brickwork's been chiselled out, ready for something. Whether or not Fred and Simon did put one there and it's been removed or fallen out or whatever, I don't know, but it's interesting to note that something would have been there at one time as well. Anyway, folks, that's just about going to do it, really, for around this chimney. It's nice to come here and actually see a chimney that Fred has worked on and get up so close and personal to it. As I say, fair play to Fred. Just looking up there now, all the way up there, he must have had balls of steel even back at 15 years of age to climb up to the top. Right then, I'm going to whip the camera around and I'm going to wrap this one up, I think. Right folks, that's going to do it for me for today. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and a little look that we've taken there of the old Halliwell Bleachworks chimney, or Barrow Bridge chimney as it's known now, and getting up close and personal with a chimney that Fred once worked on. It was nice to see all the little marks that have been left on the chimney by the man, and seeing that little name plaque that he and Simon Warner made back in 1996. Anyway, I'm going to get off now. I'm going to head back into Wigan and get home, get a little bit of breakfast, and edit this video up ready for your edification. So, until the next time, when hopefully you'll join me on another video, it is bye-bye for now.